everybody. It's Anna. So I can see a couple of you are here, which is great. So we can celebrate the new moon together. Yay. So we're at the new moon and we're getting ready for the buck moon, which I looked up actually just today. I was out of town for the weekend and it was just yesterday I realized, oh, the new moon is tomorrow. So I'm not that prepared. But I will tell you, I was inspired by the idea of the buck moon. Partly because the buck moon, I guess it gets its name from the fact that it's the time of year when the male deer are like sprouting their horns. So it's like it represents rejuvenation and growth and abundance. So, that's really fun. But that's the full moon, right? We're not to the full moon yet. We're right now at the new moon. So right now we're at emptiness, right? Because the new moon is where we can't see any light. The moon's between the sun and the earth, right? That's the right description of new moon, right? Which means that we're kind of at the cycle of our lunar cycle where we are empty. I kind of like the new moon. I like the reminder of the new moon because it tells us we're not constantly in movement. We move forward and backward, right? We move to the surface and back under the surface, which is the path of the major arcana and the tarot. If you look at the way the major arcana unfolds, there's action, there's rest, there's action, there's rest, which is the way sustainable growth is maintained. And in the world I live in, people don't seem to get that, or at least it's not talked about very much, that there's times where you have to rest if you want this journey to be sustainable. Hi, Alan. So this is the new moon getting ready for the buck full moon. So I talked about the antlers, right? That's the reason where the buck moon comes from. But also there was an incident at my parents' house recently. My parents they're near a golf course and that's near like a kind of a wildlife refuge, but it's a pretty good ways away. But the other day, my dad came out and saw there was a tiny little fawn under his truck in their driveway. And that's never happened before. And of course, when we see a little baby critter like that, we want to take care of it or intervene. But I had read, as probably many of us have, that when you see baby fawns, that to leave them alone because their mother left them for a little time to go off and forage or do other things, and then mommy will be back, right? So I really had to talk my parents into like leaving the baby alone. Like, don't rescue it. It doesn't need rescuing just yet. But I thought about the idea of the fawn, right? The little baby that needs a place to rest. And I thought about that in connection with the buck moon, because that's about deer too, right? But also about the new moon, right? And the new moon's the place of emptiness. And I thought what we might look at is, we're preparing for the buck moon where there's this new growth, this new possibility and rejuvenation in the full moon. But in the new moon, how do we get ready for that? And I thought about that little fawn under my dad's truck, which apparently looked and felt like a cave of some sort to this little one, and how there was a space. There was a space for this little one. So it could rest. It could stay there and be safe while its mommy, went foraging and bringing that into our own lives. What is the space we want to create? What might need to be released or removed to make space so that we're ready for the buck moon, for this new growth, this new rejuvenation? Hi, Julie. And hi, Effie. And also I pulled a spread this morning. I have a couple clients coming up, and one of the spreads I pulled, was both of my spreads had the emperor in them, right? And if you've heard me talk about the emperor, you know that the emperor is what I connect to good father energy. So it's the masculine energy within us that creates space, right? Like for the baby fawn, right? Creates a safe space, a space that is provided for and safe. So it's like the father builds the house for the children. And good father energy is one that builds a house that's responsive to what the children need. So it's going to be steady and safe. It's going to have a locked door that the father's in charge of, so no one can come in who's dangerous or scary. And also there's lots of stuff in the house that the little one needs. It's going to have food and toys and things to help this child grow and expand, right? So that's good father energy. And they came up twice. It came up twice in my spreads today, this good father energy. And I thought, yeah, that's probably good energy to think of when we're preparing for the buck moon. We're trying to make the space available and clear out the space that may be cluttered up so that there's plenty of room for the new growth. Hi, Shadow 21. So as I thought about my own relationship to space. Um, I realized that in the last few years, something has shifted in me, which is good, because I think that we often think of space as physical space, and certainly physical space is a manifestation of inner space, right? Um, but the mistake I think we often make, well, I mean, it's not a mistake; it's just the way we orient kind of the beginning of our journey. We look at the physical space and say that needs to change. Like I need to do those dishes, I need to do that laundry, put the laundry away, I need to, get the fur off the couch because I've got multiple critters in my house. And we think that I will feel better if that space is cleared up. And I understand why we would make that connection, right? The challenge is if you clean the space while you don't feel good, like you're annoyed with the space, you want the space to be better, you think the space has to be good for you to feel better, you're in a position of suffering, right? And so you're cleaning the space from a position of suffering. And maybe when you get the space clear, you feel relieved at first, but then what happens? Well, at least in my life, I'll tell you what happens is someone messes up my space, right? I have 2 kids, 2 dogs, 2 cats, and a husband, and they're constantly messing up my space, right? Which means that as soon as I get some space that feels soothing, it gets messed up. And then I'm angry again, or I'm frustrated again, because I didn't actually solve the internal problem, right? My sense of well-being is based on my experience of the physical world. So a few years ago, I noticed this pattern that I would get really angry and frustrated. Like even as I was cleaning the space, I was angry at the space, like, ugh, why are you not straight? Um, so I finally decided, first of all, I decided I'm never going to clean angry. That means if the space is bad or messy and it's making me upset, I'm not going to clean it. I'm not going to clean the space until I feel relaxed, right? So that was my first strategy because I got tired of, I didn't want to be yelling at my family or feeling resentful to my family or my pets, right? I didn't want to feel that way. And so I thought, well, I'm not going to engage it. If I can't engage it from a place of peace, I'm not going to engage it at all. And, as a result, my space is pretty messy. Well, my space is messy anyway. It doesn't matter. But I had to make peace with that. So then I had to disinvest the meaning of the space, right? Like I think the space is attacking me. It's a hostile environment. When the truth is the hostile environment's within myself, right? It's the judgment I have around the space that's actually hurting me. And I think I've said this before too. Hi, Lori. I think I've said this before that I guess it's been a year or so ago, I invited someone to come in and clean the space, which was a big deal for me because I realized there's judgment around the fact that my space is messy, right? And when you feel judgment, you also feel shame. And I didn't want someone to see that my house was messy, right? But I'm like, you're going to have to bite the bullet, move forward. So this person came into my house and she just saw it as space, right? Yeah, there were dishes in the sink and there was the vacuum floor needed to be vacuumed. But I realized she had no judgment around it. It was just a task for her. And I kind of used her perspective to shift my own. It's just stuff, right? Who cares if the dishes aren't clean? Who cares if the trash is overflowing? I mean, it's kind of gross, but like, yeah, there's lots of things in this world that I don't particularly like. I don't have to be judging. I don't have to increase the suffering. So I feel like there is pain around me. Like I don't like messy spaces. I don't like stinky spaces, and my dogs are stinky. So, but I love the things that are stinky. So it's like, yeah, I have preferences. And my preferences, my mind is very aware of. Like I prefer things a certain way, but I don't have to compound the pain with suffering or the discomfort with suffering by now judging it and telling a story about it. So I learned how to stop telling stories about the space. I'm like, it's just dirty dishes. It doesn't mean that I'm a neglectful person or a gross person or a bad mom or whatever the story is. It's literally dishes in the sink. And as soon as I do them, there will be more dishes in the sink, right? This is an ongoing thing. This is what it means to be on a physical plane, a physical planet where things are always devolving into chaos. So I may not like chaos, but I don't have to create suffering out of chaos. So what I'm saying is, as we're talking about clearing space, right, which is what we're going to pull a spread on this. I've got my cards ready. If you want to get your cards ready, we're going to pull a 3-card spread, or you can use my cards, whatever you want to do. But as we're thinking about space, I would encourage us to think less about changing the outward space to get an inward response and more about like allowing the outward space to show us where the internal response is. Because that's where I think the true healing happens. It's good to have things outside of ourselves which click us, or people say trigger us, right? Triggering is a great thing, by the way. I think triggering is amazing for the work of healing because as soon as you're triggered, you find your pain spot. That's my pain spot. Now I know right where it is, right? So I'm not scared of being triggered. I don't like being triggered. But it's very effective. It's very helpful to be triggered. So if the dirty dishes are making me feel triggered, fantastic. I can feel that out. I can find that energy. I can find the story and the pain point and the judgment associated, and I can clear that up. Then the dishes just become dishes. So we want to clear out space, not because we're trying to transform the outer space. By the way, the outer space is transformed when we're transformed internally, but it's just kind of a side effect. Like as I feel more relaxed, my space is a bit cleaner. It is just kind of naturally following more along the progress of what I want. Sometimes, and sometimes it's not. It's very random whether the dishes are done or not, right? Or completed or not. But even if the space around me is still cluttered, it feels peaceful for me and for my family. And that to me is the real goal. It's not having a perfect house, which is to have a perfect house, you have to be constantly kind of invested in it, or you have no one in your life. Those are two options. But if you're going to have people and critters in your life, and you're not going to spend all of your time keeping it perfect, then we have to find another way of negotiating it. So, Alan, I have a lot of control issues with my space that I've been working on. So control is such a good thing. It's such a good, actually, it's a good pain point because it's showing you don't trust something about this doesn't feel trustworthy. So learning how to say, I'm not in danger. And if I feel like I'm in danger, there's something to look at there. Like, how do I help myself feel safer? Which to me is how you really cultivate space. It's by helping yourself feel safer. That's what good father energy is, right? It's not about coming up to the standards of the father, right? Which is behaving properly and putting all your clothes away. The good father is the one that allows for freedom and grace and lets you know whatever you do, it doesn't matter. You're loved unconditionally. Love is not based on how you perform or how well your space is. And your safety is not dependent on that. Your security and your safety and your love is given to you as a matter of course by the universe. So it's about having these two sort of these two sort of paradigms we're faced with. So we've got the paradigm of the good father, which is unconditional love, and the paradigm of competition, capitalism, whatever system we're in, where we have to prove ourselves worthy. And they're both operating at the same time, right? And so if you're someone who actually feels fine in the competitive mindset or the capitalism mindset, then that will be your paradigm. And that's fine, right? That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And you'll probably do a really good job. You'll probably keep your house pretty tidy. You'll probably do all the things you feel like you're supposed to do, which is fine. But if you're like me, and I don't operate well in structures, I don't operate at all in structures unless I've created them, right? Which means I am non-compliant to structures. Then you have to find another way. You can't put your worthiness based on your performance because your performance is not matching what is expected of you. Your sense of worthiness has to come from, or your sense of belovedness has to come from a new place. I don't know if I'm making any sense. Hi, Julie. FBers. So you guys are saying, yeah, most people who are attracted to what I do are not very good with structures. We don't fit in well because if you're fitting in with structures, you're not interested in what I have to say, right? Because I'm not saying anything that resonates. But most people who are drawn to me are like, yeah, I can't quite crack the code of being like a structured human being and being able to say, yeah, because you're not built for that. And that's not because you're in deficit. That's because you were created you're created to be this way. So it has to be a good, unless the divine is a jerk, which some of us believe that too, right? But again, if the divine is a jerk, I'm just going to have to dump the divine. I'm not going to follow the divine if I think the divine is a jerk. I'm not going to agree to the divine. So I can only agree, really at my core, to being unconditionally loved, right? So my mind has to adapt its paradigms and clean up the space for that to happen. My mind can't hold on to stories or judgments that tell me I am conditionally loved, because that is in opposition to my intuition. And they need to work together in partnership. So I think that's when we talk about cultivating space, we're trying to find a resonant point between the intuition and the mind. And so that's my precursor to the spread for today. So I thought we'd ask 3 questions of this spread. Because we're getting ready for the buck moon, and asking, what do we need to clear out of our way? How will we clear it? And what are we making room for? Those seem to be kind of fun questions, right? So in the case of my parents, they were making room for a little fawn to rest while her mommy went, scrounging for food. So the same, so that to me is we're making room for the buck, right? For the buck moon, which is the growth. So yeah, those are the three questions I'm gonna go through my spread in. I've already got my cards shuffled and cut. So I'll pull my three cards and then I'll check in with you guys. And if those of you who want to pull your cards, we'll see what we've come up with. So what are we trying to remove? How will we remove it? And what are we making space for? What are we trying to remove? Knight of Pentacles reversed. Oh my gosh. Okay. So the Knight is the action taker of the court cards. Pentacles are connected to the physical realm. And this is the farmer Knight. I really do like him. I haven't always liked him, but like he is steady. He is reliable. How you farm land is you do it step by step, inch by inch, right? And the way things manifest in the physical plane require like a daily kind of investment, right? Things don't manifest in the physical plane like that. That's really important for the intuition to learn. Like it takes like step, right? So this guy, he's just finished tilling the field. There is no harvest yet, but he believes in the harvest that is coming, right? So he's steady, he's reliable, he's faithful. Great energy. The challenge of this card is that it can create a rut for us. Now we're in patterns that may or may not be matching. So the reversal of this to me is sticking to a pattern that we have because it's familiar, not necessarily because it's productive. So what I say we're clearing out is rigid patterns or ineffective or unsupportive patterns because they're no longer aligned. So whatever I'm doing, that's a pattern that isn't responsive to what I need anymore, that needs to be removed, right? How are we going to remove it? Justice reversed. Okay. So justice is often, I think of it as the karma card. It tells us that the universe keeps balance between our giving and our receiving, right? So as you sow, so shall you reap, right? So there's this idea that whatever you're putting into the world is also returning to you, right? Now, the challenge with this card is if you read it in a very linear, judgy way, it is justice, right? But if you read it in a judgy way, you're saying, yeah, we're getting punished for our badness, or we're not getting supported because we're bad. And the problem with that is our minds tend to only seek out in a survival mode, which most of us were taught to live in. Our minds only look at where there's problems and only find the problem. So our minds tend to have a sense of us as being overly problematic, right? And when you think you're overly problematic and you think the universe is giving you what you deserve, you think you're getting what you deserve, which is not good stuff. So there's blessing on its way, but you're not receiving it because you're not expecting it. You're blocking it, right? Because you're like, oh, I'm not going to get that. I have to earn that. I haven't earned that yet, right? So the reversal of justice to me, in this case, so I'm asking, how will we do it? Is like agreeing to being blessed. You don't have to actually earn it. You don't have to stay in the patterns. The patterns are not what is magical about you. Your commitment to patterns is not what's magical about you. What's magical about you is that you are magical. You were born magical. And kind of agreeing that actually this feels to me like kind of good father energy, the justice card reverse, because it's saying, yeah, I mean, you're chock full of beauty and chock full of blessing, and the universe adores you. So stay open to that abundance of blessing. Okay. So we're going to let go of patterns, which especially rigid patterns, are locking us in to energy patterns, right? Like if you're doing the same thing every day, you're also locked into energy patterns. You're not open for new things. Here it's saying, be open to what you don't expect. Be open to the idea or to the experience that you are more beautiful, more amazing, more beloved than you realize, and start sort of agreeing to that, looking for that and expecting that. By the way, this is hard to do. Receiving unconditional love or getting better at receiving unconditional love is a real challenge, which it's easy to think it'd be easy because it sounds like it's a good thing, but you have to actually kind of consciously expand to this. It feels kind of uncomfortable. So we're looking at getting gifts that you don't earn, right? And kind of being okay with it. Yeah, I don't have to earn it. I don't have to deserve it. I also don't like the words deserve because it implies that I've earned it. Like I don't deserve love. I just get love. Because I'm on the planet and I'm an extension of the universe. The universe loves itself. I just get love no matter what I do. So yeah. Anyway, so that would be how we release this Knight of Pentacles reverse. We reverse it. We release it by agreeing to love more and more. And what are we making space for? Ace of Swords. So a new way of thinking, like the mind is on a new journey, creating a new paradigm, a new structure. So I think the mind is starting over, which is nice. The mind kind of regularly needs to be transformed. So this idea of whatever I think I'm trying to earn, trying to patterns I'm using to prove myself, to earn right, to prove my worthiness, letting go of that, letting myself be loved unconditionally, and then letting the mind begin to work on a new understanding of that way of life. All right. That's my spread. So I think I have to scroll down because I don't see anything. Unless none of you guys are sending me anything right now. But you probably are. No? Are you guys still there? Have I been talking to myself all this time? I may have been. Yeah, so someone check in to let me know you're still there. Because right now, it looks like nothing's happening. Okay. Well, check in. Oh, good. Oh, good. Here you are again. Okay. Just like 2 posts, but it's like nothing's been happening for a while. Of course, I'm just chatting to myself. So I'm like, I thought, oh no, have y'all been gone for all this time? And there's 3 posts now. Okay. So if you're there and you just want to post and say you're still here, that's good. But maybe there's a lag. So FB, here is your spread. So what we are releasing is Chariot reversed. So to me, the Chariot card is about choosing. It's a 7 card in the major arcana. It's about making choices. And I also associate Chariot with joy, like we're surfacing joy. So the fella in the Chariot card is looking out across the horizon. He's picking where he wants to go. So before he makes an action, before he makes a choice, he's really feeling through his energy, right? So the reversal to me might be letting go of making your choice with anything but joy. So if there's other things you're using to make choices, what's the right thing, the expected thing, the safe thing, whatever that is, kind of releasing that, removing those other motivators and using joy instead. That may be one safe way of doing that. How will you release it? 7 of Swords reversed. 7 of Swords reversed. Okay. So the 7, another 7, right? So that's another discernment or wise choice card. Swords are about the mind. The image of the 7 of Swords is the guy sneaking through a military encampment, like stealing swords. So I often think of this card as the mind is curating its swords, right? It's curating its mindsets. It's trying to make wise choices about releasing paradigms that don't work, picking up new beliefs or new mindsets that do work to get you where you're going. Now, the challenge of that, I think the reversal of that could be the mind is being overly scrupulous about itself, like it's afraid it's messing up somehow. So it's like being too attentive to its mindsets. And that I could see how the two could work together. Like if you're not trusting your joy, like you feel like you want to do something, but your mind's like, yeah, but am I confused? Am I blocked? Am I tricking myself? Like if the mind doesn't trust itself, which could be that reversal of 7 of Swords, then it's like the mind's thinking there's something wrong with it. And so it's second guessing itself. So like you're going to choose joy by the reversal of the 7 of Swords. Oh, I said that backwards. Would be to me like the mind knowing that it's fine, not second guessing itself, trusting that it'll figure it out, like not slowing everything down or doubting joy because it thinks it may have something wrong. That hopefully that makes sense what I just said. And the third card is what's gonna open. Wheel of Fortune reversed. So Wheel of Fortune is the card that teaches us non-attachment. Basically saying, the world's always spinning, things are always changing. Sometimes you get what you want, sometimes you don't get what you want. But it's not about you. Like the universe has its own agenda, which isn't really connected to our own expectations. So the problem the mind makes, and actually feels connected to the 7 of Swords reversed. The mind thinks, well, if things don't happen in a way that I expect or want, I must have messed up. And that teaches it to, again, be too vigilant, too worried, and all that stuff. Instead of saying, no, the world just turns. The universe has its own agenda, and it doesn't always match up with what I expect or what I would prefer. But there is a genius to how the intuition leads, and a genius to how the soul responds. And so every circumstance has a seed of possibility and joy within it. And the mind learns how to not be resistant to what's in front of it. It's kind of like I'm saying about my messy room. My mind's resistant. Oh, I don't want a messy room. But if you can get the mind to stop not wanting it, just kind of say, well, this is what it is. I'm going to be at peace with it. Now new action is possible. So new action. In the reverse, the reversal of the Wheel of Fortune is like maybe things aren't quite what I wanted or expected, which can lock up the mind, right? The mind goes, oh no, I'm stuck. I'm being punished. I've brought something onto myself. But the reversal here as the gift would be like, yeah, even if things don't go the way I want, I'm going to find new action step. I'm going to find new blessing because I've got my partner, my intuition partner who knows what to do. So it's like relaxing into joy, like choosing joy, the mind feeling okay about itself, not judging itself, and then letting itself kind of step playfully into the opportunities that are popping up, even when the unexpected occurs. That'd be one way of reading it. Lori, fun reading today. Good. My first card is 7 of Cups. So what we're releasing, seven's choice. We've got lots of choices to make today. 7's about discernment, making wise choices. Cups about the intuition, and the image is in the Rider-Waite. Always my descriptions are Rider-Waite, just so you know. Is the guy looking at there's 7 magical cups floating in the air, and he gets to choose which one he wants. Great card. Love the card. The problem with the card is when we don't make a choice, because all of these gifts look kind of cool and fun and funky. And we're like, yeah, but if I choose one, I lose the other 6. And the fear of making a mistake, which is a mind concern, makes us frozen. So I would say removing the 7 of Cups would be like pick your pony and ride it on out of here. Because remembering, like, the magic isn't in the cups, the magic's in you. So whatever you pick is going to be interesting and beautiful and amazing and expansive. So there's no way you can make a mistake. So kind of moving past the 7, which in the case of the cups would be the 8 of Cups, which is that spiritual seeking. So remove the pause, trust yourself, go forward, make your choice would be one way of removing the 7 of Cups. Second is 5 of Swords. So how you're going to do that was the 5 of Swords. So actually, I didn't even read this ahead, but 5 of Swords is the mind not getting hooked. The challenge of the mind. 5 is about challenge. Swords are about the mind. In the image, you've got the guy who's on the seashore, like he's gonna duel people, and he's like, yeah, take me on. I'm gonna fight you. And so the challenge is our mind gets hooked into something that is a non-productive use of its time. It's getting hooked into conflict or proving itself or explaining itself or something. And as it does that, it loses lots of energy in this engagement, which gets you nowhere. So in that card, you've got 2 people who are walking away, and they're the ones who pass the challenge in my mind, because they're like, we're not going to do this. Forget this. We're not going to get caught in this conflict. It's just a distraction. It's just, we're going to lose lots of energy here. Let's just walk away from this. So to me, the 7 of Cups and the 5 of Cups, actually, or 5 of Swords, is like the mind thinking it has to explain itself, like kind of going, no, I don't have to tell you why I picked this cup and the 7 of Cups. I picked this path because it feels fun. It feels good. It feels interesting. It feels sparkly to me. I don't have to explain that to anybody. So just walking away from the idea that I have to explain that to you. I mean, the mind just agrees. That's what the intuition wants to do. Cups are about intuition. The mind goes, intuition wants to pick this cup. We're going for it. And I'm going to walk away from any distraction around that. So maybe that's one way of reading that. And then let's see. Lori says, third card is the Star. Oh my gosh, the Star. So the Star is major arcana card. In the major arcana, it follows the Tower. So the Tower is when some structure falls apart, and it falls apart because we've gotten too big for it. It's no longer supporting us, right? And the Star is sort of, you walk away from the Tower and you're in this place of rejuvenation. And the image of the Star card is just gorgeous. Like there's a naked woman pouring water in the pool and in the ground. The stars are above her, 7 stars, which represent the 7 energy centers. So she's getting restored and rejuvenated and kind of recovered from the trauma of the Tower, right? But also she's got there's a little bird in the tree in the background, which I think is an ibis, but it's a bird of prophecy. So not only is she kind of being restored and kind of brought back into balance, but she's also feeling through this place of expansion, like something's expanding, and she's kind of feeling into that new body. And the nakedness is kind of like being in your skin, like just being in your skin. So what you're making room for is this place of rejuvenation and restoration, but also expansion. So the Star is always fun. Okay. So Shadow 21 says, I don't believe it, but I pulled two of wands, 2 PM wands. Okay. I think you mean 2 of wands. Okay. So what you're releasing, that's kind of cool, right? 2 of wands. Let me see what you said. 3 of wands, 7 of wands. You're all about the fire. You're all about fire and passion and inspiration, right? That's what you're saying. All the wands. That's good. Okay. So 2 of wands is like the place where the guy, he's still at home. Like the 2 is the card of germination and rooting in. So it's not an active card. It's a resting card, right? But you're resting. All the work is underground. So just because you're resting doesn't mean you're inactive. It just means you're not taking action in a way the mind can perceive it, right? So the image there is the guy. He's still at home. He's got a globe in a hand, and he's looking out over the horizon. So he's letting his passion build and strengthen, letting himself root in to this exciting thing he's about to do. He's just not moving yet. So releasing that with the Three of Wands, which is the action step. The three is momentum. It's about now we're in action. Now we're moving. So it's like you're kind of releasing the waiting and stepping into momentum, right? And the Three of Wands is the guy that's now at the seashore and the ships are coming in, right? And I always think of that as the momentum is not just I can feel my energy and my passion rising, but also the universe can feel, and the universe is now responding. So now we're getting opportunities, getting invitations. We're starting to recognize partnership with the intuit, with the universe, and that combined momentum of my excitement and the universe is now taking shape. So releasing the rest to move into the movement, which is interesting, especially for the new moon. But so yeah, you don't have, so letting go of the maybe the reticence of waiting, like, oh, I'm not ready, I'm not ready yet, which I mean, yeah, that's a lot of us feel that way, like I need a little more time, need brain, instead of saying I'm not ready, look, here's the opportunity, let's start moving. And the Seven of Wands, so you're making room for the Seven of Wands, which is well, the Seven of Wands is the guy who's making it again, another seven, making a choice, making a discernment. He's standing his ground. He's like, yes, I know what I'm doing. And in the image, he literally is holding a wand. Like he is staking his claim on this place, right? So it's about like, so it's almost like you kind of move out of reticence into momentum. The universe responds. You're getting all these cool things, and you're like, now I can see what I'm doing. I can see it. I can visualize it. I can taste it. And I'm not really open. I'm not open to being moved anymore. Like I do know what I'm doing. So that's really a lovely kind of progression there. Oh, you were listening. Okay, good. Okay, FB. So second, wait, maybe I've lost. Pulling the spread, listening. This is FB. Second card was Four of Swords, but I don't know where your first one was. Oh, wait. Oh, second card was Four of Swords. Four of Swords. Oh, okay. You're saying the second card was four. Okay. So we had Seven of Swords, right? But you're saying it was Four of Swords. Okay. Just stepping back for a minute. The Chariot reverse. So you're making it, you're choosing joy, like releasing any other motivator besides joy. Four of Swords is the balance point of the mind. So in the image of the Rider-Waite, you've got the knight's in a crypt. So he's like laying on a crypt and it's quiet. It's very stable. Four is about stability and having good foundation. So it's like the mind is stabilizing. And I think that works nicely too, because the idea of the mind. So when the mind stabilizes, it sort of settles into a position, right? It's not in conflict any longer. It's not observing lots of different opportunities. It's sort of, oh, this is what I'm going to do. So if you're deciding I'm going to follow joy and your mind goes, yes, I will make. So your mind agrees to that. The Four of Swords would be like your mind goes, okay, the joy is what we're going to do. So if you're trying to free up the Chariot of reverse, you do it with a mind that's made a decision, kind of getting, if you think about the King of Swords or even the Knight of Swords, there's sort of this focus of, I'm going to follow joy. That's my compass. That's what I'm listening to. When the mind settles into its own position, things get there's a lot more clean sailing. So maybe that's a different way of seeing that Four of Swords. Hopefully it is. Okay. Yeah, Shadow. There's lots of sevens, right? Lots of decisions making, lots of discernment in play. Okay. So Trudy Kuhn says, first card, Ace of Pentacles. Second card, Three of Swords. Eight of Wands. Oh gosh. Okay. Lots of energy there. So Ace of Pentacles is the beginning point. The Ace is the seed and the Pentacles are the physical realm, right? So it's like we're starting something new. Could be a new job, could be a new hobby, could be a new something in the world, new trip. Somehow we're starting something new. Now, the reason we might want to let go of that is because if we have a tendency to keep starting things new, right? And what can happen is because the physical world manifests in a very deliberate way, right? If the mind is like too anxious or too excited or doesn't really understand, or even the intuition, if the intuition doesn't understand it this way, that every time you plant something new, you keep planting new things, like you're not giving what you've already planted a chance to take root, right? So you keep planting, you're planting on top of other things. And so you're always starting things, but not letting resting and allowing the second piece of the journey is the two, which is germination or rooting in. So if you find that you keep introducing new stuff into your life without letting any of it rest, maybe that's what you're trying to release is don't start new things. Like the need to start new things or be busy starting new things instead of saying, I'm going to learn how to not have to make new things happen. Instead, trust the seeds I've already planted. And the Three of Swords, I think can, let's see. Yeah. Three of Swords can be really instructive here, because the Three of Swords, the three is about momentum. Swords are about the mind. And the image in the Rider Waite of the Three of Swords is the heart that's been pierced with three swords, which people often associate with heartbreak. But when I look at it, I associate it with thwarted expectation, right? So we can see how this, how the mind, and that means the mind can be in resistance. Like, oh, I thought this was going to turn out a different way. It didn't turn out that way. And now I'm angry. I'm frustrated. What did I do wrong? What went wrong? This idea the mind is now in conflict with what's in front of it. But the lesson of the three is for the mind to trust that when things don't turn out the way it expected, that's because magic is at play. There's a deeper genius, and the mind learns how to relax into that, to say, well, this didn't turn out, something better is on the way. So the mind learning how to live in partnership with intuition from a place of trust. So the way I see this working together, the Ace of Pentacles and the Three of Swords, is the Ace of Pentacles it's a great card, but if you keep starting new things, it's like the mind saying, well, I started this. Why is nothing happening? Why is nothing happening? So the mind continually planning new things is a form of resistance, because the mind's, it's not agreeing to the process, right? So if the mind can go Three of Swords, which is the lesson of Three of Swords, is okay, things don't go the way I want. I am disappointed, but there's something at play here that kind of goes beyond my expectations and beyond what I can see. I'm going to relax into that. Then the mind learns how not to continually start new things, but like to trust the process. That may be one way of seeing that. And the third card is the Eight of Wands, right? And Eight of Wands is the eight is about power and flow. Wands are about fire and passion. So the wands are in the air, like floating through the air. So it's really interesting, because you've got these two cards, which are like, just try to trust the process, like try not to interfere with the process that's already in place. If you do, suddenly there's this huge movement of like passion and energy. And like, if you can stop interfering, this beautiful, powerful momentum will be allowed to rise. So that's the way I would see that. It's fun. Let's see. Okay. So let's see. Shadow says, I keep pulling wands and I really shuffle my deck. Listen, yeah, the cards show up the way they want to show up. Someone asked me the other day, one of my clients said, do you ever just like, because I pulled a spread, she was like, that's exactly what I need to hear. She said, do you ever put your cards back if you think it's wrong? I'm like, no, I never do that. Even though my mind's like, oh, this can't be right. I'm like, well, it must be, we're going to just see. That's the Three of Swords too. The mind going, that can't be right. You're like, well, we're going to act like it is right. We're not going to argue with it, because this is mysterious. We don't know how the intuition's working with the cards. So it is funny when your mind goes, that can't be right. And you're like, but it must be. And the mind learning how to go, okay, it must be right. Like, I don't really know how this works, so I'm just going to trust it. Okay. So Key. I said, Key, I've been watching your videos for a while now. This is my first live. Yay. Yeah, thank you, Key, for being here. Good. I'm glad FBU said it makes sense. It makes sense. Well, good. All right. So it looks like everybody so far. I'm going to scroll down to make sure there isn't some kind of lag. But yeah, I'm glad you guys were here today for this new moon. And if you're in the rewatch, let me know you're here and how your spreads are going. And we'll just make space in the next 2 weeks for the magical things that are coming up. You guys all have a lot of cool things coming up. I do too. So we'll see how that goes. So I'll plan to see you again for the Buck Moon. See you then. Bye.